I'm Aubrey Reichard-Eline, and I'm Associate Director of Development for Rutgers Cancer Institute. In April of 2018, when my then 9-year-old daughter Grace was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and then my husband, he was diagnosed with a rare form of lymphoma in 2021, and my experience with caretaking for both of them was just being present in the moment and listening to what they need. What you think they need might not necessarily be what they think they need. So becoming a really good listener, to be attentive and realizing that, we can't do everything. And for me as a caretaker, realizing that, some things have to be let go so you can prioritize what's going on in the moment to get through it, was really important. I think it's really hard as a caretaker because sometimes you feel powerless because you can't necessarily control what's happening to those that you love, and it can be a very powerless feeling. And so any little thing that you do to take care of your loved ones means so much, and that's how you can help the situation, is listening to them, figuring out what they need, and doing it that way. And this is something I learned in the process. And my husband and I said this the day we found out that Grace had a tumor. One, we said to each other as a couple that we still have to be a team and we still have to be us and do us and do our things to keep our relationship and our sanity going. So we kind of made that pact. And for me, some of the things were, I embrace going to the gym. It's absolutely a mental release, break, therapy for me. So I continued to go to the gym and have that as an outlet no matter how tired I was. I tried to rally most of the days to keep that half hour sacred for me. That was really important for me from a mental health perspective, that, and whatever that is, maybe it's, a coffee break with a friend, or maybe it's making tea, or it's reading a book, whatever that is. For me, it was making sure that as a caretaker, I still took that little bit of time to have my thing, to recharge my batteries. And I know they always say that, you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't take care of somebody else if you're not taking care of yourself. I have to say, through my process, taking care of my daughter as well as taking care of my husband, I realized that is so true and so important, that you have to carve out that time for yourself to recharge your batteries. And the other piece I would absolutely say is feel your feelings. I think this goes for anyone in the house, either the patient, the caretaker, other members, Halo members of the team, is feel your feelings. Sometimes you feel like a caretaker, you have to constantly be on and constantly be strong. And again, part of your strength comes from taking care of yourself, but also feeling your feelings. And if you need to take a moment. And I have a very vivid memory of this for us is, you go through cancer treatment, and hopefully you don't lose your hair, but a lot of times you do. And we knew that day would come for my daughter. And the night that it happened, I can still get emotional about it, knew it was coming. And, but it really, it started, and then there it was in our house, in our hands. It totally hit me that this is real. This is really happening. And I'll never forget, I sent, we got Grace all squared away. I sent her with her brother, and her dad, and they went to go read books before bed. And I sat in the bathroom and I cried. And I had to purge what I was feeling, even though I knew we'd figure it out, we'd get through it, this is part of the process. I needed that moment by myself to feel my feelings and purge it. So if you need to do that, I say, do it. Feel your feelings, and then dust yourself off, pick yourself up, and keep going. But don't constantly move the feelings aside. You have to feel them to be able to move through them. So feel your feelings, and then you rise up, you dust yourself off. And I did, and I resumed reading books with all of them for that special moment before bed. You need to be you, but you need to be who they need. So if they don't want you to talk or they want you to leave the room, do not take it personally. Get out of the room. Let them do their thing, and like being able to listen and be just be what they need in that moment. I think one of the things also I learned through the process, because I kind of I figured it out through the way with Grace, and then with my husband, I realized in a little scary moment in the clinic with some stuff going on with him, that I didn't know how to 100% be there for him. Like, does he want me to talk to him? Does he want me to pet his arm? Does he want me to, say something silly to distract him? Like, I didn't know. So that's where it really hit me, like, oh my gosh, like I have to listen to understand kind of what is the best way to show up to help him to be the best I can be, so we can get through this together as a team. So I would say, like navigating that. The other thing I would add overall, because, when one person gets cancer, the entire family gets cancer. And I think a challenge as a caretaker is you're focused on the arguably life or death situation that you are currently faced with. So you're dealing with that, but then also there's maybe a parent in your house that you need to focus on, or another child or other children, and or pets, and the household duties, and your day job, all of that. I say it's not easy for the caretaker, because you're trying to balance all of that. And I would say, give yourself space, give yourself grace, and it's not easy, but I think just being honest with those around you, and trying to be as present as possible with them, is helpful, and be honest of like what you can handle and what you can't handle, and then figure out a plan together. Make it a team effort, whether it's with your job. Hopefully they are accommodating when with the other kids, taking that time to sit with the other family members in your house and say, listen, my attention might be a little bit more over here, so my time with you might look a little different, but you're still there for them, and having that open dialogue that there for them again might look a little different than what it did before. And I think that's really hard for caretakers to navigate, because you're trying to take care of your cancer patient, your family, your house, your job, yourself. It's a lot. So being honest, communicating, and being okay with saying when. I was fortunate in both the cancer diagnoses in my house, that the job that I had at the time was very accommodating. I know not all caretakers have that blessing, have that peace. Sometimes I know different jobs react very differently. I was fortunate to do that. I felt, and my husband and I felt this actually going through my daughter's treatment, we would balance a lot. If I needed to show up for a meeting, he would take that day, or if he needed to show up for a meeting, I would take that day, and we tried to balance it. We tried to keep our work life and our life in general as normal as possible. We felt that was the best we could do for our family, and that carried through to when we were, when he was in the fight. For us, it was helpful to try and keep everything as normal as we could. We thought that helped the whole family unit feel, I guess, more comfortable, more stable with what was happening, even though it was so unpredictable. If we could keep our schedule as similar as we could, which we know is not the reality all the time, that was helpful for us. And I think, again, just being honest, trying not to take on too much at work if you can help it, having that communication that this is what it's gonna look like, and some days might be completely unpredictable, and I need you guys to be prepared for that. Like having that transparency. It's definitely hard, because I know, especially for me, I wanted to be 110% every single space in my life, but that's not the case, and you need to give yourself grace that you need to let some things go, and being okay with doing that was helpful. Same thing with the social life, like just being honest with your friends, like, listen, we're dealing with this is new to me, or we've done it before, but every situation's different, so I might not respond, and it's not, don't take it personally. And if people reach out and you're comfortable and, want to go for that cup of coffee because you need to be nurtured, allow yourself that space to go and be nurtured. And if you need to take a nap instead, it's like having a newborn baby, go take that nap. Just really giving yourself grace to say yes or no to things. But it's hard. It's really hard as a caretaker to balance all of the things. So you also have to just listen to yourself and make those decisions to prioritize what you need so you can show up the best for everybody else. And I would always say, ask for help when you need it and take it. If people are offering it and it's helpful to you, don't be afraid to do it. You'll have time down the road. You can pay it back if you want. Maybe you won't. Doesn't matter. Take the help if it's offered. Because oftentimes you're actually lifting them up by letting them help. In most cases. So just give them that. If it helps get you through, that's fine. And, you could take care of them on the other side. So when we learned that Grace had a brain tumor, completely out of the blue, no way, shape, or form saw that coming. So we were thrown into Grace's diagnosis, like that movie moment where your life changes in a blink of an eye. That was what happened when we found out Grace had a brain tumor. Didn't see it coming at all. So I feel like we didn't really prepare for that. It just kind of happened. But my husband and I had the conversation the first night, all right, we're still gonna be a team. And no matter what, we're gonna find the bright spots and we're gonna make it a good time. So that open conversation kind of helped us prepare for being a caretaker for Grace. And for Dan, I have to say we kind of had an unfair advantage because we had gone through this with Grace. So approaching Dan's diagnosis and treatment was completely different. I knew who to talk to for getting the research and the information, so I was totally prepped for his doctor's meetings and appointments and everything like that. We were definitely more prepared for that. I was able to ask questions about the clinic space, to better understand how it was going to be, because we had gone through it with Grace. So I'm I know the days are going to be long and we're going to be in there. So what am I getting myself into for snacks, for charging, for comfort? What are we going to need for all of us? So I was a bit more prepared and did more research for Dan's diagnosis, but Grace's, we kind of just we're thrown into it. I think when you get a cancer diagnosis, your bar gets set really low for wins. But being able to smile about that, even if it's, not going so good that day for your cancer warrior, I would say if you can find the bright spots, that would be, and find the blessings and the gratitude, even if it's a really ugly day, is a good way of preparing, I think, as you go into it. And I didn't have that before, but I think I definitely learned that along the way. But I know I say don't Google, because you can go down such a dark tunnel. I would say if you have a doctor friend, I relied a lot on doctor friends. If you have a doctor friend that you can ask, for insights and stuff like that, or just how to ask questions, that's helpful. I would say if you do any research in particular about treatment or questions or options, I would always go to a reputable source, looking at the NCI. So I think I would say 99% of the things that we focused on was NCI, looking at those studies and that information there. But the other thing I would say, from a research perspective, is being okay with taking a pause when you're in a meeting with a doctor, just saying, hold on, I need a minute, and asking, regrouping with whatever you just heard. And if you need to ask questions because something doesn't make sense, do not be afraid to ask that question. I think sometimes being in with the doctor can be very intimidating, but this is new to you. This is new to the person you're taking care of. So saying that, hey, this might be a really common symptom or a common diagnosis, but this is the first time we're going through it. So could you help me understand, when you say this, or why does he need that? Or why does she, need this? Really become okay with asking that question. Don't feel stupid. Ask the question. That's something I would absolutely say I learned along the way, and that I would put in the research category of ask the questions, because I think that is such a big piece, because getting on the internet will make your brain explode. So if you need to, go to NCI, and if not, just be okay with asking questions to the doctors and taking a moment to process what you're hearing whenever you can. And it's okay. Like, if you take extra time, it's okay. Like, give yourself that space and that strength and that encouragement. I'm sending that to you, that you can ask those questions to help you get through it. The thing I would say is, you'll see statistics everywhere, like, oh, what's the prognosis? Like, when you see those statistics, try not to get sucked into the negative side of it. Like, find that glimmer of hope and try and focus there. And again, I think being present is so important. Because this time, maybe they're later, it may not, and just being present right there as best you can is a gift you're giving yourself and a gift you're giving your loved one. That's so important. One piece of advice I got, and I hope everybody does this, is don't look on the internet. It can bring you to really dark places, so try not to Google too much. But one piece of advice that I didn't kind of get right off the bat, and I learned through the process, and it's critical, and I try and tell this to any other person that's a caretaker for someone newly diagnosed, is to find a kind of spokesperson, someone that you can be honest with. And then they can turn and talk to either your family, your friends, your community of strangers that hopefully will rally around you. Find that spokesperson so you can filter through them what you and your family needs. You can also, filter through them to communicate. So you might not be able to answer all your text messages from friends, and that's okay. But this spokesperson can tell them that it's not you being rude because you can't respond. It's just you've got a lot of stuff you're trying to deal with and handle. You can't you're navigating doctor's appointments and things like that. You can't necessarily be on your phone responding to everybody, but you are so thankful for all of their outreach. So have this spokesperson be that conduit externally for you. Also, if you need things at the house, don't be afraid to tell them, if people want to help, hey, this is what I need. I need gift cards for food. I need somebody to take my kids to soccer practice, or whatever that is. Find that spokesperson to help alleviate some of the burden that falls on you to update everybody or communicate with everybody, or reach out and say what you need. Do that. And I would also say, be honest about what you need. If you do not need baked ziti, tell people you don't need baked ziti. You need gift cards for your favorite takeout place, because you can order whatever you want on your way home from the hospital. And that's easier than dealing with meals at home, or again, you need somebody to take somebody somewhere, or take your garbage out, or mow your lawn. Do not be afraid to ask. What is the worst that can happen? Someone can't do it and they don't step up, and that's okay. So that's some of the advice that I learned through the process, and I am thankful for the friends that stepped up to help and be that conduit externally to help alleviate some of your caretaker burden, so you can focus on your family members and learn what you have to do there. And the other stuff that you need, tell your friend and have them take care of that for you. Give yourself grace, be okay with and understand that you need to recharge yourself. So if it's ordering in pasta, or it's going to a gym class or a yoga class, or it's just sitting outside, whatever it is. As a caretaker, make sure you take that time to nurture yourself, again, even if it's 5 minutes. Reboot your batteries so you're stronger for the ones that you love. Feel your feelings. Don't be afraid to feel your feelings, because they're there. And again, I think you show up stronger if you can process them to an extent and feel them, and then find the light and rise up. And be okay with asking and or taking help if people are offering it. And I hope for everyone seeing this that they have a community that's rallying around them, of people they know and people they don't know, and accepting that help, asking for that help, finding that spokesperson that can communicate for you. If you don't want to do it, find your sister, your friend, whatever, to be able to do that. I think is just so important. And I would also say, as a caretaker, I think it's really hard. Sometimes, hopefully everybody, makes it through their treatment and they come to the other side. And even if not, that this cancer journey is always there. It looks a little different after survivorship, or, whatever that looks like after you're done with the treatment part. It keeps going, and I think sometimes it's really hard for the patient as well as the caretakers, for people that aren't in it, and you don't want them to be in it, but those that aren't in it think you finished treatment, your hair grows back, and the day after all of that, your life goes totally back to normal. I don't want to sound negative, that it doesn't. Your life goes back to something different than it was the day before you heard, my husband has cancer, my daughter has cancer, my mother has cancer, whatever that is. Your life does not go back to the way it was the day before. But I would say for every challenging, not so nice, ugly thing that happened in the process, we have that many more blessings that have come, whether it's a beautiful care team that we're now friends with, whether it's new friends we made along the way. Find those bright spots. They'll get you through, and be okay with your life does look different. Try and silence some of the chatter that's outside. One more thing I want to add to caretakers, and even, patients going through it, is know you're not alone. And if you do not have either family or a community that's rallying, which I hope you do, know that there's groups, there's organizations, the Cancer Institute, they will help you find people. So do not be afraid to ask if you need help with something, or maybe it is something like it's, transportation, or maybe it's a support group. Don't be afraid of it. That was something I learned in the process, that finding my people really lifted me up and helped me as a caretaker. And I'm thankful for those that pushed me to do that. And I found it really helpful to hear that there's other people out there that are in your situation or have been in your situation. And I want you to know that you're not alone.